have only a lunar calendar. Neither one of them is going to work. He said them. That's plural. That's both. So we have the rotation of the earth turning either away or toward the sun. This gives us our days. Then we have this orbit concerning the moon. That gives us our month. Then we have the orbit of the earth and its orbiting moon going all the way around the sun. That gives us our year. So Yahweh has all of these things set on these orbits, and it is actually the rotation around the sun that gives us our seasons. So we have to pay attention to that, because Yahweh appointed the holy days to be seasonal. If you notice, Yahweh doesn't do anything in the cold. Most of us don't like doing that in the cold either. All of those holy days are set at a certain time. And once it starts getting cold, Yahweh done. He's like, well, holler at me again when April come back around, when it's time to start back up. Yahweh, he don't have us gathering nowhere after that. He has the end harvest, and after that, he's done. There ain't no more holy days. Now, if you look at other, the Jewish and stuff, man, they got a long list of holy days. These people, they got all of these things. None of that stuff fits what's in this book. Yahweh deals in that season with his holy days, and then that's it. Go ahead.
Verse 15. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
Okay, so this is our set for our measuring of time. For anybody who even believes in this so-called Enoch calendar, Enoch wasn't even tickling his daddy's pants when Yahweh set forth how time was going to set. This is Yahweh setting forth time. There ain't no Enoch no way in it. So Enoch don't have no calendar. If Enoch has a calendar, then Enoch is your God. Yahweh has a calendar. Whoever you obey is his servants you are. If Enoch directs your gatherings, then your God is Enoch. Yahweh directs our gatherings. When you go into a place of business and the man who say, hey, you need to be here at 8 o'clock, he the boss then, right? He told you what time to get there, right? Okay. Well, let's say you obey the wrong person. How that's going to work out for you at that job? When you get ready to say, okay, where's the stuff you were supposed to be doing? Well, what's his name told me to do this. Who is he? Oh, he the guy in the mailroom. Who told you to listen to the guy in the mailroom? Whoever you follow, those you are that person's servant. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 23. So we have to decide whether or not we're going to follow Yahweh, or whether we're going to follow the things and the dictates of man and his flesh. And we have to understand that, we put these things out and we say whatever we have to say, but do understand that you're not putting forth the word to convince anybody. You have to put out the word because you don't know whether or not Yahweh is having you to do that for righteous judgment or not. Because at some point, Yahweh needs to be able to say, you've been told. So everybody that you're talking to, you're not talking to them so that they can hear the word. You're talking to them so that they can receive judgment. Which one? We don't know. And I wouldn't even waste time thinking about it. Leviticus chapter 23, and let's read verses 1 through 6.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, Concerning the feast of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, Even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Shabbat of rest, an holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Shabbat of Yahweh in all your dwellings.
Right. So before Yahweh even gives the holy days, he starts off telling you about the Sabbath, because all of the holy days are based on the Sabbath. Go ahead.
These are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons.
You shall proclaim them in their seasons. The Hebrew word there is moed, which is Strong's H4150, and it says properly an appointment that is a fixed time or season. Fixed. So it cannot move throughout the seasons. It has to be proclaimed in the same time. You can't have a harvest festival in January. You don't have anything. It's like, man, we're gonna celebrate all the green grass. Brother, there ain't nothing on everything done fell off the trees. We can't celebrate that. Ain't nothing there. That makes no sense. So it has to happen at that time. Go ahead.
Verse 5. In the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahweh's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread.
Okay, so so that we understand all of those things, this setup of Yahweh has the beginning of this year. He has the Passover, then the feast of unleavened bread, and we see that they are two distinctly different feasts. But when we get in this New Testament, we're going to read otherwise. Exodus chapter 12. So this is where we have to make a decision on whether or not we're going to follow Yahweh or man, because it clearly says that the 14th day is Passover, the 15th day is unleavened bread. Now pay attention to the order. We know the order: Passover, then unleavened bread. Exodus chapter 12, and let's start with verses 1 through 6.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year
Exodus
to you.
chapter 12 and verse 1. Just a little bit. Go ahead.
Verse 2. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak you unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month
In the 10th day of this month. So it's letting you know what shall be the beginning of your year in the 10th day of this month. So in the same month where you're keeping this Passover, this is the beginning of your month. January is the worship of the pagan god Janus. So that's why they do watch night service, so they can celebrate the God that looks into the past and the future. This is why they have the midnight parties on their New Year's Day, because you have to celebrate the two-headed God at the point of looking in the past and in the future. So that's why you have the biggest parties that night. Nobody can just go home and go to sleep at 9-10 o'clock. Nope, they have to be up so that they can worship the two-headed God at his appointed time. Go ahead.
Before it was Janus, the New Year used to begin in March, in observation of Mars.
The Chinese still have their New Year in March. Theirs didn't change. So it lets you know that when they so-called adopted Christianity, what they did was put all of their paganism inside of it, but gave it this name that would be appealing to everybody. Go ahead.
In the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. Verse 4. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb.
Now, just to show you, just how far off a lot of these Hebrews are. They believe, now we're talking about Hebrews that so-called believe in Yahshua. They believe that the lamb that's eaten on Passover is the sacrificial lamb. So they are telling people that you need to go and buy a whole lamb. You can't buy no lamb chops. You can't buy no lamb. You got to buy a whole lamb. They think the lamb is their sacrifice. Yahshua was our sacrifice. We eat lamb because that's delicious. The lamb is not our sacrifice. Our sacrifice, we've had a perfect sacrifice. So that's not what we're doing on Passover. But when you get out here on the internet and you start going through some things, and there's a whole lot of posts and a whole lot of people dealing with all of these things, they believe, and this is why you have a whole nother side of people who say, well, there's no need of even trying to keep the holy days, because they're still trying to put the carnal part of the law in it. And what we're keeping is the spirit of that law. We've already had there's no better sacrifice than a sinless man giving up his life. There's absolutely nothing better than that. If you decided to offer yourself up, it still ain't going to be good enough because you're not really that clean. I hate to bust your bubble. None of us are. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year.
That pretty much takes care of all us. That pretty much takes us out the picture. Because we can't be without blemish. Go ahead.
Even with that, them going to buy a whole lamb. You talking about a lamb out the store that's already been killed? How do you know if it had any blemishes?
Exactly. See, this is how you misappropriate that law. You're gonna go and buy. They picked out the lamb from the 10th day, set it aside to that other day. That's when you examined it to see if it had a blemish. So how do you know if it was already in the market? You didn't see none of that. They done cut off the blemishes. Go ahead.
You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
Right, you shall keep it up until the 14th day. So you pulled it aside at one point, and then the lamb was killed. So this, of course, gave you this opportunity to do this. Keep reading right here, because this is where this thing gets kind of off here.
And they shall take of the blood, and strike it on the two side posts, and on the upper door posts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roasted with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
Now jump to verse 10.
And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning you shall burn with fire.
So you got people that's saying you got to eat all the lamb on Passover, or you got to burn it up. You set my lamb on fire. You know how much that lamb cost? You ain't set none of that on fire. But see, they're going to take this carnal law and then they come and go with it. Because if we're doing this by the Levitical law, man, you have to understand, there's a whole lot of stuff we would have to do, and we ain't set to even do any of that. Even if, and see, that's the thing when you deal with, you have a lot of the mixed in people who don't believe in Christ. They don't believe in Yahshua the Mashiach. So they kind of get in the mix and they get into these conversations, but they don't really tell you that they don't believe in Yahshua. They don't really tell you that right off. They start having this discussion and going into things. So you're going to have to learn to start asking questions as they're having these discussions. But what will happen is once you have them enough, you will hear certain things and you'll figure out, wait a minute. Then that'll let you know to ask a question before you keep going on. Go ahead.
And thus shall you eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand.
Jump to verse 15.
7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the seventh day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel.
Now, I want you to consider something. It says, you shall eat the unleavened bread from the first day until the seventh day. So we have Passover, then we have the Feast of Unleavened Bread being this whole week, and that unleavened bread shall be out of your houses. You shall not eat any of that, otherwise you shall be cut off from Israel. Now, if you are keeping your things according to just the lunar moon, then what ends up happening? At the Feast of Unleavened Bread, where Yahweh then says you're going to be cut off from Israel, you have leaven in your house and you're eating it because you've already done those things completely aside from what the appointed time is. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation, and in the seventh day there shall be an holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in the selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever.
You shall observe this in your generations by an ordinance forever. And it throws people off when they read the sacrifices because they say, well, we can't do these. But those have been fulfilled. Yahshua said he's come to deal with the things that were written concerning him. He didn't fulfill adultery. He didn't fulfill lying. He didn't fulfill any of those things. So those commandments were not taken out of the way. What he did fulfill was sacrifice, because that he did. He was sacrificed, and he allowed himself to be sacrificed. He didn't take off running. He told them, all right, tomorrow is the day that I shall be betrayed, and I shall be, mocked of the chief priests and whatnot. He knew exactly when those things were going to happen. So he offered up himself willingly. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 12 and verse 18. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, you shall eat unleavened bread, until the 21st day of the month at even. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. You shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations shall you eat unleavened bread.
In all your habitations and everywhere you live, and now it has broken this thing down. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day. So it is giving you specifically the days of that first month that no unleavened or no leavened things should be in your houses. So he's very specific about this time. Go ahead.
That was that.
All right, let's go to chapter 13, and let's read verses 1 through 10.
Exodus chapter 13 and verse 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine. And Moshe said unto the people, Remember this day in which you came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand Yahweh brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. This day came you out in the month Abib.
So when you look at this Abib, it is in Strong's H24, pronounced Abib, meaning to be tender green, that is young ear of grain. A young ear of grain. This lets you know that this pinpoints this further to a particular time. Now, going back to the things of dealing with this on a completely lunar, because I've heard many Hebrews say that we have a lunar calendar. When you go back to this, understand, we're talking just dealing with this 12-month cycle, not dealing with the vernal equinox. Next year, according to that, that new year would be February 26th. You get to 2019, February 4th. There's absolutely nothing green at this time. We go further down, like we said, we go down into January 2nd and December 12th in 2023. That's just counting this 12-month cycle. This doesn't fit the definition of what Abib is. So that cannot be the way that that is supposed to be done. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 13 and verse 5. And it shall be when Yahweh shall bring you into the land of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, which he sware unto your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this month. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and in the seventh day shall be a feast to Yahweh. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with you, neither shall there be leaven seen with you in all your quarters.
In all your quarters, okay? In all the little places that you have set aside for you, there shall be no leaven found in it. So there are two things that's happening. First, you're eating unleavened every day of that week, and there's nothing of leaven found amongst your quarters. So it's not just that one thing. So if you get off, you have two things that are going on. First, the thing of not having any leaven, then making sure you're eating unleavened, because you got to do this every day within this week. Go ahead.
Verse 8. And you shall show your son in that day, saying, This is done because of that which Yahweh did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be for a sign unto you upon your hand, and for a memorial between your eyes, that Yahweh's law may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand has Yahweh brought you out of Egypt. You shall therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year.
You shall therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year. It does not move. It cannot move. These are the things that Yahweh has set forth. It cannot do go all around the place. Then it is not Yahweh's day if it does that. Let's go to Exodus chapter 23. Exodus chapter 23, and let's read verses 15 through 17.
Verse 15. You shall keep the feast of unleavened bread. You shall eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded you, in the time appointed.
Once again, we get into the same thing, in the time appointed. Remember what he told Moshe. Be circumspect and listen to all the things that I'm telling you, and make sure that you build the tabernacle according to the instructions that were given to you in the mount. You don't get to ad-lib nothing. If I tell you 2 cubits, you don't get to go 2.5 cubits, because, what I found when I put this to this side, it didn't, because it was on a hill, it didn't fit right away. And it would have been hard to just grind that hill down. So what we did was we added 2 more inches. Right, well, you just added some damnation to it, is what you just did. Go ahead.
In the time appointed of the month Abib. For in it you came out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty.
Right. So we then see that he is correlating all of this to the same time. We see Abib, we see Passover, we see first month. All of these mentioned alongside of one another. So we know that this is the true New Year. But what happened is when we allow people of authority, because, we respect what the Euro Gentiles had put out. So it was very difficult for us to change our mindset of January 1st was not the New Year. And then there are a lot of us that don't want to study to show our own selves approved. So we just kind of listen to what, the powers that be give us. Let's go to Job chapter 1. Job chapter 1. And we want to see if the time makes any difference. Job chapter 1, and I want you to read verse 6.
Verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them.
So when it's talking about the sons of Elohim, we know that this talking about angels because it says, and Satan came also. So now, this is an appointed time that this was supposed to happen. The angels are following theirs, even Lucifer and his slick self. He there on time. He wasn't late. He didn't decide, I'm going to do this some other time. Or, I showed up. No, he showed up when the rest of them showed up. There was an appointed time for this appearance. These are the angels making their appearance. You don't get to just make your appearance when you want to. Jump to Job chapter 2 and verse 1.
Again there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them to present himself before Yahweh.
Satan came also once again. So now this is the second time in 2 back-to-back chapters that we see the sons of Elohim, there are angels making their appearances. How are they making their appearances? How are they making it? They are making their appearances according to the holy day schedule. So when you find that these things that were given unto Moshe, it was given to him what was already set forth in heaven. Yahweh wasn't making up holy days for the children of Israel. There were already holy days. You have to ask yourself, why is there a Melchizedek? Why is there a king of Salem? Why is there a priest of Salem? What? Jerusalem is Jerusalem. Do understand, these are holy things. You don't get to alter them as you think or as you feel. You don't get to mess with those. If you get down into this book and find out what gave us the biggest amount of trouble, it's messing with holy stuff. Go ahead, brother. Did you finish that?
Yes.
Go to Deuteronomy chapter 16. Man has always sinned. It's not about making a mistake. Man always have sinned and done things. Dealing with holy things wrong will get you in a situation. And part of your situation could be that Yahweh just leave you in the wrong and have you too prideful to repent. There's some folks that know they stuck in the wrong situation. They're not going to say nothing. And they're not going to do nothing. Because it's too embarrassing to back it up and fix it. It's too embarrassing to admit. It says it's better for you to go into the kingdom with one eye or one hand or one leg. If I got to hop in, I'm hopping. Take that leg, man. I got to get up in there, brother. So we're going to take that leg away, man. Let me go ahead and I tell you what, how long I got to work out this other one? Because it's going to have to be strong because I got to keep going. I'm not finna stop, man. Deuteronomy 16 and verse 16 through verse 20.
3 times in a year shall all your males appear before Yahweh your Elohim in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before Yahweh empty.
They shall not appear before Yahweh empty, and we just read in Job there are 2 times, and these angels just made their appearance. So then we see what is given in this law for man is to make an appearance these 3 times in 1 year. And we consider all of the trials and tests that Job had. These things ended up coming out of these appearances from the angels. So we understand then that these are holy things. These are not things that man can alter. Go ahead.
Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of Yahweh your Elohim, which he has given you. Judges and officers shall you make you in all your gates, which Yahweh your Elohim giveth you, throughout your tribes, and they shall judge the people with just judgment.
If you are judging with just judgment, then there's no respect of persons when it comes down to an issue. It's either right or it's wrong. It don't matter who it is. That's why the prophet ended up saying to Dawid, he gave him this parable about the things that happened with Bathsheba. And he said, man, the man that has done this, hey, he should die. It is evil. He said, you are that man. Good is good and evil is evil. But see, what you find in certain situations is, and that's what we grow up watching. This is why people join the secret societies and they join those organizations. We want to join these fraternities and all of these things so that we can gain influence if something happens. People join the Masonic order so they can go to court and throw all their little signs while they in court. Because if the judge recognizes them signs, a lot of them people may turn around and get a lighter sentence. And people like, wait a minute, man, how this person got probation and they trying to give me 5 years in prison? See, this is the way an unjust system works. Well, you find that now Hebrews are working by the same unjust system because they're not going to deal with righteous judgment as things happen. They're going to deal with it in a lot of instances. Things have been dealt with lightly depending on who it was. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 19. You shall not wrest judgment, you shall not respect persons, neither take a gift. For a gift does blind the eyes of the wise, and pervert the words of the righteous. That which is altogether just shall you follow, that you mayest live and inherit the land which Yahweh your Elohim giveth you.
That which is altogether just shall you follow. Meaning if you got enough, you have this book, and if something is going that is not just, why are you following it? Just to say, okay, I don't want to stand out. I don't want to do such and such. As it is written, put a mark on all of the people that sigh and cry for the abominations that be done here. Then go through and slay everybody else. And then he said what? Start at my house. And start with the elders. Because they're the ones who should have known better. So people think, well, I'm going to be covered because I'm following the elder. Right. According to what's written in this book, the angel of Yahweh going to kill them first. Did you finish that?
Yes.
Let's go to Leviticus chapter 26. See, Yahweh sees who has, there's a thing with Yahweh. And it's just. The more power, the more responsibility you have in the situation. That don't mean just because you don't have any power that you don't have any part in it. You got enough power over your own being. You may not have power in a congregation. You got power over you. If somebody tell you, Yahweh says, this is what we're supposed to do on this day. And somebody else said, no, you got to do such and such. All right, well, you going to force feed me? You gonna shove that stuff in my mouth? Well, that's what you're going to have to do. Because I may not have power over what everything goes on, but I got power over this. And I say, I'm not doing that. That's why you have a book. See, we neglect the power of having this book. Do you understand there in the beginning, all of the people who have suffered to put this together? The Catholics had one book, and that was the dude who was talking. That's it. They said, hey, man, let me see what that say. No, shut up now. I got this. I just told you what it said. And the people who tried to translate this book, some of them was burned, killed, maimed. How are we going to disrespect this? by not reading it. Go ahead. Leviticus 26, 1 through 4.
Okay. Verse 1. You shall make you no idols, nor graven image, neither rear you up a standing image, neither shall you set up any image of stone in your land, to bow down unto it, for I am Yahweh, your Elohim.
Remember what is written. It says, it's talking about the children of Israel. It said some of these people have set an image, a stumbling block before their face. Some of them have set up images in their heart. See, we like to think, well, we don't have an image because we don't have, a physical object, but we got an image in our heart, and we allow that thing to pull us off the path. Go ahead.
I mean, even in most interviews, we hear these superstars and these people when they get an interview and you don't pay attention. So tell me, who was your idol growing up?
Mm-hmm. Right. And when you find idols are picked, that means people pick the idol that they want to be like. They pick the idol who most likely reminds them of themselves. So when people pick something, it's something in them that causes them to gravitate toward that person. When somebody said, how many clean comedians have you heard that say Richard Pryor was my idol? Not many. There were people who talked just like Richard Pryor, and that was their idol because it fit what they wanted to be about. So when people choose these things, they're not just choosing, they're choosing because there's something in their heart that fits that situation. Go ahead.
Verse 2. You shall keep my Shabbats and reverence my sanctuary. I am Yahweh. If you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit.
Right. Once again, all these holy days are based around agriculture. We always hear April showers bring May flowers. Yahweh has an order set up. Go ahead.
That was that. 1 through 4?
Yeah. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 11. See, Yahweh has an order of how things are supposed to go, and we have to decide whether or not we're going to follow that order. And Yahweh has given us warnings along the way. He said, if there arise from among you a prophet that utters all of these things, and those things do not come to pass, Yahweh have not chosen this prophet. Then we have things written in the New Testament that there must be heresies among you, so that Yahweh may show you who among you is approved. Deuteronomy 11, and let's read verses 13 through 20.
And it shall come to pass, if you shall hearken diligently unto my commandments, which I command you this day.
Now, and it shall come to pass, if you shall hearken diligently. Yahweh don't want your half doing. If you're going to half do it, just stop. If you are going to hearken diligently, this don't mean you're going to be perfect, but it means you're going to give it a perfect try. If you're not going to even try, stop. Go worship Satan. You'll have more fun. Ain't no need of slowing yourself down for the lake of fire if you're not going to even try. Go ahead.
To love Yahweh your Elohim, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul.
Yahweh does not accept half-done things. With all your heart and with all your soul. If you're not going to put everything in you in it, don't even start. Go ahead.
That I will give you the rain of your land in his due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that you may gather in your corn, and your wine, and your oil. And I will send grass in your fields for your cattle, that you may eat and be full. Take heed to yourselves, that your heart be not deceived, and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. And then Yahweh's wrath be kindled against you, and he shut up the heaven that there be no rain.
He shut up the heaven that there be no rain. Now there are not the things to be able to be dealt with in those agricultural holy days. Go ahead.
And that the land yield not her fruit, and lest you perish quickly from off the good land which Yahweh giveth you. Therefore shall you lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall teach them your children, speaking of them when you sitteth in your house.
Right. You shall teach them of your children, speaking of them when you sit in your house. So sometimes you need to turn that TV off. There's sometimes when you and your kids just supposed to be talking. See, some of this stuff they supposed to hear from your mouth. Yeah, we had heard Sock say, what they heard you say? Go ahead.
And when you walketh by the way, when you lieth down, and when you rise up, and you shall write them upon the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates.
Right. And we find even this done in partiality. For you go in people's houses and they'll have the 10 Commandments on a huge poster and remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy every week. Every week, break that commandment and still boast of this posting of the commandments while they're breaking them. Now that's a serious problem. Let's go to Numbers chapter 9. Numbers chapter 9, and let's start that at verse 1.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the second year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, Let the children of Israel also keep the Passover at his appointed season.
Right. See, there are things that you miss if you just doing that speed reading stuff. But are you paying attention to how many times it is appointed? It is appointed. Appointed season. This is a set forth time. Go ahead.
In the 14th day of this month, at even, you shall keep it in his appointed season, according to all the rites of it, and according to all the ceremonies thereof shall you keep it. And Moshe spake unto the children of Israel, that they should keep the Passover. And they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the first month at even in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that Yahweh commanded Moshe, so did the children of Israel. And there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of a man, that they could not keep the Passover on that day. And they came before Moshe and before Aaron on that day. And those men said unto him, We are defiled by the dead body of a man. Wherefore are we kept back, that we may not offer an offering of Yahweh in his appointed season among the children of Israel? And Moshe said unto them, Stand still, and I'll hear what Yahweh will command concerning you. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a man of you or of your prosperity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or be in a journey afar off, yet he shall keep the Passover unto Yahweh.
Okay, so if he's in a journey far off, or have been made unclean by a dead body. Go ahead.
You got to consider. A lot of us have questions and don't ask questions. What if they did not ask the question?
Brother, you have to consider what happened with those sisters when the daughters of Zelophehad. They didn't have any sons, and it was time for the land to be passed on. And because that situation had not happened, they about to give this land to other people, and the daughters had to raise forth that question. And Moshe had to go to Yahweh about that. And Yahweh said the daughters of Zelophehad speak right. So that's one of those things where we're supposed to stand up for righteousness, where when there comes up a situation that we ask a question. A lot of people ain't asking nothing. And that's a problem. And it may end up being sin to you. Go ahead.
Verse 11. The 14th day of the second month at even they shall keep it, and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall leave none of it unto the morning, nor break any bone of it. According to all the ordinance of the Passover, they shall keep it.
So there's a second Passover, just in case the person was unclean for the first Passover. But you don't get to just go to the second Passover just because. This is if there was a situation where you were not clean. And this, they're dealing with this, the men, because first of all, 9 times out of 10, if a woman was unclean during that time, she's going to be unclean during the next Passover too. It's a month at the same time. Go ahead.
But the man that is clean and is not in a journey, and forbear to keep the Passover, even the same soul shall be cut off from among his people, because he brought not the offering of Yahweh in his appointed season. That man shall bear his sin.
Now it says 2 things: that he brought not the offering of Yahweh in his appointed season. He didn't bring it in his season. Well, let's say he said, well, I brought it. Yeah, but you ain't bring it at the time I told you to bring it. Argue with the people at your job, and they tell you, man, you supposed to be here at 9 o'clock. Man, look, I came. What time you got here? I got here at 10-ish. What time you supposed to be here? 9? What's the problem? Do that and keep doing it and see what they do to you. Go ahead.
And if a stranger shall sojourn among you, and will keep the Passover unto Yahweh, according to the ordinance of the Passover, and according to the manner thereof, so shall he do. You shall have one ordinance, both for the stranger and for him that is born in the land.
Right. See, Yahweh is a Elohim of righteousness. You shall have one ordinance. See, this whole jumping in and out of the law as it suits that particular person, that's not going to work. Go ahead.
And on the day that the tabernacle was reared up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, namely, the tent of the testimony. And at even there was upon the tabernacle as it were the appearance of fire, until the morning. So it was always. The cloud covered it by day, and the appearance of the fire by night.
And we wish it was that easy for us today. We wish we could just find the fire and the cloud and say, man, I know I'm following the Spirit, because there go the cloud. Go ahead.
And when the cloud was taken up from the tabernacle, then after that the children of Israel journeyed. And in the place where the cloud abode, there the children of Israel pitched their tents.
But you know, it would still be people that have a problem with that. Even if we could see the fire and the cloud, it would still be a problem. Go ahead.
At the commandment of Yahweh the children of Israel journeyed, and at the commandment of Yahweh they pitched. As long as the cloud abode upon the tabernacle, they rested in their tents. And when the cloud tarried long upon the tabernacle many days, then the children of Israel kept the charge of Yahweh, and journeyed not. And so it was, when the cloud was a few days upon the tabernacle, according to the commandment of Yahweh they abode in their tents, and according to the commandment of Yahweh they journeyed. And so it was, when the cloud abode from even unto the morning, and that the cloud was taken up in the morning, then they journeyed. Whether it was by day or by night that the cloud was taken up, they journeyed.
So, no matter when it moved, they moved. But see, Israel has this thing that in their own hearts and minds and for their own convenience, they think if the Spirit is someplace at one point in time, that the Spirit is always there. It don't work like that. It never has. Go ahead.
Verse 22, Numbers chapter 9 and verse 22. Or whether it were 2 days, or a month, or a year, that the cloud tarried upon the tabernacle, remaining thereon, the children of Israel abode in their tents, and journeyed not. But when it was taken up, they journeyed. At the commandment of Yahweh they rested in the tents, and at the commandment of Yahweh they journeyed. They kept the charge of Yahweh at the commandment of Yahweh by the hand of Moshe.
All right. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 15. First Samuel chapter 15, and we're going to read verses 13 through 23. They moved according to the cloud. They moved with the Spirit. This has become increasingly difficult for the children of Israel because now the movement of the Spirit is not as easily discernible. You have to read your book, watch the things that are going on, and judge the Spirit by the Spirit. But it's going to be increasingly difficult, very, very difficult, if you look at those things with respect to person. You're not going to see the way that the Spirit is moving when you're looking with respect to person. Go ahead.
You know, in that situation now you can understand when Yahweh told Moshe, I sent an angel before you to guide you in the way, and don't you provoke him. When we just read, you see he moved when he felt like it. So you get used to moving in the day, then all of a sudden one night he get up and say it's time to go.
Exactly.
Man, but it's night. Where we going?
Right. And then Israel steady complaining too. You can see the Spirit move. Why we got to be moving like that? Why we got to be? And if you look at that journey, that's what we were just talking about the other day. Yahweh said, go over here. Now turn. Now go back down here. Now you know Israel was like, hey, ain't it the same mountain we just... I don't think he know where he's going. He don't know where he's going. We just passed this mountain. What Israel started doing? Let's raise us up somebody else to lead us back. Right. So Yahweh might send you around a couple times in a circle just to see if you're going to keep walking. Because see, some of us, if we don't get there right away, we done. I'm out of there. I'm done. I done made too many turns. Right. Yahweh might make you back. All right, make a left. Now make another left. Now make another left. Okay, now turn left. Yahweh, this is the same street. Yeah, I know. I just want to see what you were going to do. Right. Because see, some people be like, oh, I'm done. I'm out. Y'all like, all right, now the rest of y'all. Now we can go and do what we're supposed to do. Had to go drop off that package. He said from the beginning, he already knew who Yehuda's Iscariot. He said, I already know who the betrayer is, but he didn't run him off. He kept him there until he did what he needed to do. He let them 70 disciples hang on until it got to that time. All right, except you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no place in me. Man, we got to go. That right there don't make no sense. All right, good. Now, with these 12, time to go do this job. I mean, these 11 and the devil. Come on, let's go. All right. Go ahead.
1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 12.
Start at verse 13.
13, sorry. And Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said unto him, Blessed be you of Yahweh. I have performed the commandment of Yahweh.
I have performed the commandment of Yahweh. I have done what you told me to do. All right. Right on. Go ahead.
And Samuel said, What meaneth then this bleating of the sheep in mine ears, and the lowing of the oxen which I hear?
Right. Now, if your instructions was to kill everything, what are these animals I'm hearing? But I did what you told me to do. Right. So why I'm hearing this stuff then? Go ahead.
And Saul say, They have brought them from the Amalekites.
They? This is this, you know this us. This is our class. Well, you know them. They and them. This is us. Go ahead.
For the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen to sacrifice unto Yahweh your Elohim.
Every time your kid is trying to get you to do something, they say, well, everybody doing it. Oh, yeah? They must don't have no real mamas and daddies. Go ahead.
And the rest we have utterly destroyed.
The rest. Go ahead.
Then Samuel said unto Saul, Stay, And I will tell you what Yahweh hath said to me this night. And he said unto him, Say on.
Now, he already know the man didn't follow instructions. If you follow the instructions, I should be hearing the things that I'm hearing. But see, this is us believing that we can do half or partially what Yahweh has given us, and it's still going to be okay because, God knows my heart. Go ahead.
Verse 17. And Samuel said, When you was little in your own sight, was you not made the head of the tribes of Israel? And Yahweh anointed you king over Israel? And Yahweh sent you on a journey and said, Go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed. Wherefore then did you not obey the voice of Yahweh, but did fly upon the spoil, and did evil in the sight of Yahweh? And Saul said unto Samuel, Yes, I have obeyed the voice of Yahweh.
See, this is us again. We're going to fight for this situation. We're going to still proclaim that we did what we were supposed to do. Go ahead.
And have gone in the way which Yahweh sent me, and have brought Agag the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took of the spoil sheep and oxen, the chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto Yahweh your Elohim in Gilgal.
Now, he the one in charge of the people, but now he blaming the people. Go ahead.
And Samuel said, Hath Yahweh as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifice as in obeying the voice of Yahweh?
Right. Yahweh is more pleased with your obedience than your sacrifice. Go ahead.
Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft.
Rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. There's a whole lot of people that know what this word say. They just not going to do it. It's rebellion. Go ahead.
And stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry.
Stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. So you might as well have you an idol, because with that stubbornness, and when you run into stubborn people, it don't matter what you say to them. It's not going to straighten anything up. That's why I tell people, you might be giving somebody the word, but that don't mean you giving it to them for them to be converted and healed. As it is written, lest they hear and be converted. Sometimes you telling that word so that judgment, righteous judgment, can be held. There's a reason why them people tell you got a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be held against you in the court of law. Then they start asking you questions. But they already warned you that everything you said was going to be used against you. So, common sense. Why are you talking? They told you exactly what they was going to do. Imagine if a guy just walked up on the street. Hey, brother, how you doing? I'm going to punch you in your lip. Then I'm going to kick in your groin. And I'm going to take the money in your pocket. All right? All right, you ready? Are you just going to sit there? He just told you, I'm finna punch you in your face. I'm gonna kick you. Then I'm gonna take your money. Now take me down to the store. All right, brother, get in the car. What? Where's that common sense? What? At some point, does this work? Go ahead, bro.
Because you have rejected the word of Yahweh, he has also rejected you from being king.
Because you have rejected the word of Yahweh, he has rejected you from being king. We read this at one level, but do understand it says that the children of Israel were set to be kings and priests. So we read that, oh, that's about Samuel. You sure that's just about Samuel and Saul? You sure? Because Israel has some things we supposed to be doing. See, there's even the kings were supposed to have a copy of the law that the priests had. So let me tell you something. Yahweh may be training his future kings as priests, but then turn around and put them as the rulers, the captains, but he trained them as priests first. Because the rulers are supposed to understand the law as well. But he has a separation between his king and priest. But they have to understand it. You can't govern Yahweh's people and not understand what thus says Yahweh. That's not going to work. You finished that, brother?
Yes.
All right, let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 11. So this is why Yahweh could say automatically that King Saul was going to be a horrible king. He wasn't trained. He was not trained. David was trained through hardship, problems, attacks, all kinds of stuff, back to back. 2 Samuel chapter 11, and let's read verses 1 through 5.
And it came to pass, after the year was expired, at the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab, and his servants with him, and all Israel. And they destroyed the children of Ammon, and besieged Rabbah. But David tarried still at Jerusalem.
Now, here's the problem. And it came to pass after the year was expired, at that time when the kings go forth to battle. The kings go forth to battle. David's a king, yet he's tarrying at Jerusalem. See, now here we go. This was his house. He got the right to be there, but he not there at the right time. He not supposed to be there at this time. This is not the time that he's supposed to be there. Go ahead.
And it came to pass in an eventide that David arose from off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon.
Now he's somewhere at the wrong time, and now he sees something he ain't supposed to see. And that's flesh finna take over. But here's that wrong timing thing. Had he been where he was supposed to be, you have to consider if the woman would have even done that, if she knew he was still there. He wasn't supposed to be there. Go ahead.
And David sent and inquired after the woman. And one said, Is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Elam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? And David sent messengers, and took her. And she came in unto him, and he lay with her, for she was purified from her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house. And the woman conceived, and sent and told David, and said, I am with child.
And so all of this results from doing this and being there at the wrong time. He never should. You have to understand something. It's not, especially during this time, it is not common for a man to see an unclothed woman. We see unclothed people all the time. It's normal for us now in this day. I was driving home the other day. It's so funny to see people when they acting like they working out, but they really just want everybody to look at them naked. They going down the street, got this. And it's funny because brothers and sisters do it. So brother jogging down the street. I mean, he damn near got on drawers, and the brother ripped up. So he was running down the street, running, sweating all over the place, looking at every car. See if they looking at him. Boy, look at it. Then the sisters do the same thing, put on some tights, look like she got 3 midgets in her pants, and she just strolls all down the street. Man, look at this mess, man. Right. So we have gotten accustomed to this. This ain't nothing he was used to. There was a law on how people have to dress and be covered. That ain't nothing he was used. And wasn't no HBO or Cinemax. There ain't nothing he was used to seeing. This created an image in his head that took on a whole nother form and ended up causing blood to enter into his house, and it stayed there. Let's go to Luke chapter 22. But you see how Yahweh can then turn around and punish you in your own in the confines of your own home. Man, it's his house. It's the king's house. But because he was there at the wrong time, he saw something he shouldn't have seen, and it took shape and form and did some other things. And Israel just has this issue of not fully following Yahweh. Luke chapter 22, and let's read verses 1 through 8.
Now the feast of unleavened bread drew near, which is called the Passover.
All right, now, I mean, come on, we just read that. See, and there's a lot of people that, because they don't read this book in its entirety, they get to these things and it throws them off. The feast of unleavened bread drew near, which is called the Passover. So you understand how Israel does things, but there's a ruling authority of chief priests. See, what we do is we see that the chief priests were the ones to offer up Yahshua, but we don't see it's the chief priest that's leading all these other things. Go ahead.
And the chief priests and scribes sought how they might kill him, for they feared the people.
Now, so the chief priests are trying to set up how they may do these things. Go ahead.
Then entered Satan into Yehudas, surnamed Iscariot, being of the number of the 12. And he went his way, and communed with the chief priests and captains, how he might betray him unto them. And they were glad, and covenanted to give him money. And he promised, and sought opportunity to betray him unto them in the absence of the multitude. Then came the day of unleavened bread, when the Passover must be killed.
Right. And look at this timing. Then came the day of unleavened bread, when the Passover must be killed. That, according to the law, is done, is set aside on the 10th day. Then those things are done. Look at how it's mentioning unleavened bread in Passover. It's mentioning unleavened bread before the Passover. It's Passover, then unleavened bread. And you wonder why Yahweh ended up dealing with Israel, because of our partiality in keeping his ways. Go ahead.
And he sent Cephas and Johanan, saying, Go and prepare us the Passover, that we may eat.
Right. So they're doing, talking about unleavened bread, and he's going to prepare for this Passover. Let's go to Matthew chapter 15. Let it be known unto Israel that Yahweh is dividing and setting aside servants the same way things are done on these holy days. You know, you go and you find that lamb that's perfect without blemish, and you set it aside. See, it's got to be sanctified and set for this use. When the children of Israel get to go march off to do this holy war, the children of Israel has to be sanctified for 3 years. You set apart. You're not just going from your unclean state and going and participate into a holy war, because there's some things that's going to happen for us to come out of this place. Israel has to be sanctified before we can do all of those things. Like it says, Judah, you are my battle axe and weapons of war. With you, I shall beat nations into pieces. But that's not Jake. He ain't doing nothing with Jake. Jake is just something to keep Israel company along the way. That's all Jake do. Jake is something to entertain Israel. Because Jake gonna get cut off. All of Israel shall be saved, but as it is written, they are not all Israel which are of Israel. Why? Because they Jake. Matthew chapter 15, and let's read verses 1 through 14.
Then came to Yahshua scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, Why do you also transgress the commandment of Elohim by your tradition?
Why do you transgress the commandment of Elohim by your tradition? There are some things, man, that all it takes is for us to do it 1 or 2 times, and it has become a tradition. I know it well. I come from one of them families. You do something more than 2 times, it has turned into a tradition in my family. And it's hard for us to break tradition. It is hard for us. Hey, them little Easter egg hunts used to be at my house. It is hard for us to break tradition. It don't take us but a couple times, and we stuck. We are creatures of habit. Go ahead.
For Elohim commanded, saying, Honor your father and your mother, and he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But you say, Whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, It is a gift by whatsoever you might be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have you made the commandment of Elohim of non-effect by your tradition.
The commandment of Elohim is made of non-effect by your tradition. You honor not your father or his mother. Thus have you made the commandment of Elohim of non-effect. And the people like to have it so, because they don't have to do all the things that they're supposed to do. They don't have to keep their covenants. They don't have to do all of those things. So they like those wicked rulers, because the wicked rulers make it easier for them. Go ahead.
You hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, This people draweth near unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips.
Oh, they sing Yahweh is wonderful. They say all the stuff about Yahweh. They'll put Yahweh on their Facebook up and down. When it comes down to doing the stuff that Yahweh said do, you ain't gonna find them. Go ahead.
But their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. And he called the multitude and said unto them, Hear and understand. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth the man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth the man. Then came his disciples and said unto him, Knoweth you that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? But he answered and said, Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be rooted up.
Right. Now these are the people in charge. They say, man, don't you know you offended them? Every plant that's not planted by Yahweh shall be rooted up. It's hard for people to imagine the people in power and having authority not being planted by Yahweh. Go ahead.
Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch.
But no, I'm covered, because see, I was following such and such, right? But ain't both of y'all in the ditch? So you was following him, and he went in the ditch, and then you fell into the ditch too. So what's the difference when the tow truck comes? He still got to pull 2 people out that ditch, right? You have to ask yourself, which one of them is the dumber one in the ditch? The one who led them in the ditch, or the one who followed the blind leader that led them in the ditch? Which one is the dumbest? Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 7. And you find a lot of people are about to be led into a ditch tomorrow morning. I mean, they got Easter services starting at 5 a.m. because they got to do sunrise service. See, they're not telling them what that's all about. They don't know that there are actual countries in South America where they worship the sun, and they have to get up At 5:30, 5:45 a.m., half of us wouldn't be able to worship the sun god. So we like, hey, look here, man, I can't get up that early. I'm gonna have to offer my sun god an apology. Look here, bro. I had a long night. No, they have to get up. Be up when the sun. The same thing that happens on Easter Sunday, they do it every day. They get up, they kneel down, they bow down. When the sun come up, then they can get up and go back in the house and go to sleep. Whole countries. I'm sitting there talking to this woman because this woman starts asking me some questions, and I'm talking. This is how Yahweh just caused you to, speak the word. I don't know nothing about this, but I'm talking about how, I don't keep Easter. I keep the Passover. Easter is this worship of the fertility goddess. That's what the eggs are all about. Is why the kids were dressed up in these white suits, because they were supposed to be the fertilization of the eggs. That's why whoever gets this special egg or whatever, it's supposed to be the one seed that produced that fertilized the egg. So I'm going into all of these things. It's really sun worship, and I'm going through all of that, and the lady's just quiet for a second. She said, "Well, when you said that thing about the sun worship, I can tell you that is true." I said, "Huh?" She said, "Yeah, well, where I'm from, we worship the sun," and I was like, "Oh." Now, but here's how Yahweh takes care of his business. Had I known she worshiped the sun, I probably wouldn't have said it. You understand? See, that's how Yahweh will blind you enough for you to do what you're supposed to do. See, some people have so much knowledge and they don't do what they're supposed to do. Yahweh take some of that now. Now, I'm going to give you all this, because, see, you're going to turn around and you're going to think for yourself. See, then here comes small Esau. Okay, I don't want to offend her, so I won't say anything about the sun god. If I'd have seen sun symbols all around, her house, I wouldn't have said that. So Yahweh made sure I was blinded. He made sure. Yahweh will blind you so that you do what you're supposed to do. Afterward, first she was quiet, then she started talking and I was quiet. Wow, that's interesting. And then she just started telling me, yeah, we get down and we do such and such. And I had to go do some research after I talked to her, because I had never run into no open sun worshiper before. I mean, I heard about them, but I had never seen one. She started breaking it down to me. I was like, wow. But she wasn't from here. See, I've gone to places where they have the shrines to their gods at their houses, on their doorstep. I go to people's houses and they got fruit sitting at the front door, on the front doorstep. And I'm like, hey man, hold on. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to ring the doorbell without stepping on the fruit offering for their God. They got a whole meal set out here. What y'all think that candy is that people be giving out on Halloween? Those offerings for the dead. What, we just doing it for the kids? Now, these people are serious about their thing. We playing with it. They are serious about their paganism, and they understand that it's paganism. They know that it's paganism. We're doing it by accident. We just blind, following the blind. Go ahead, bro.
Jeremiah chapter 7 and verse 1. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahweh, saying, Stand in the gate of Yahweh's house, and proclaim there this word, and say, Hear the word of Yahweh, all you of Judea, that enter in at these gates to worship Yahweh. Thus said the Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, Amend your ways and your doings, and I will cause you to dwell in this place.
Right. See, we get so comfortable in the place, and we think that once the spirit is somewhere, it's going to always be there. But Yahweh lets us know, look here, you're going to have to amend your ways and your doing. It's not that Yahweh's spirit is just going to constantly be somewhere just because he set it up. And it might be a place where Yahweh is set up. But if righteousness is not done there, his spirit will not stay there. Go ahead.
Trust you not in lying words, saying, the temple of Yahweh.
Right. The temple of Yahweh. See, because we're in this physical place, we ain't got to really worry about keeping the things as it is written, because we got possession. Remember, possession is 9/10 of the law. So once somebody got something, it take a whole lot for somebody else to try to come and prove that it's theirs. Go ahead.
The temple of Yahweh, the temple of Yahweh, the temple of Yahweh are these. For if you thoroughly amend your ways and your doings, if you thoroughly execute judgment between a man and his neighbor, if you oppress not the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, and shed not innocent blood in this place, neither walk after other gods to your hurt, then will I cause you to dwell in this place, in the land that I gave to your fathers forever and ever.
If you do these things, if you're going to execute righteous judgment, that means it can't be a situation whereby, okay, if one of the brothers in charge do something, then it's not evil. But if somebody else do something, or if that same person does something against one of the power people, then they can be punished. But as long as the power people are doing something to the regular people, that's not punishable. That's not executing righteous judgment. There's a problem there. And Yahweh says, if you do those things, I will dwell among you. See, we have a problem with justifying ourselves by how many people we can get to follow us. What you need to be doing is looking in front of you and making sure that you're following Yahweh instead of looking behind you to see how many people follow you. Go ahead.
Jeremiah chapter 7 and verse 8. Behold, you trust in lying words that cannot profit. Will you steal, murder, and commit adultery, and swear falsely, and burn incense unto Baal, and walk after other gods whom you know not, and come and stand before me in this house, which is called by my name, and say, we're delivered to do all these abominations?
Whether you say it with your mouth or not, you said it spiritually by doing it and then holding your head up high and walking right back into Yahweh's house like ain't nothing happened. Go ahead.
Is this house, which is called by my name, become a den of robbers in your eyes? Behold, even I have seen it, saith Yahweh. But go you now unto my place, which was in Shiloh.
Which was in Shiloh. Past tense. Go ahead.
Where I set my name at the first, and see what I did to it for the wickedness of my people Israel.
See what I did to it for the wickedness of my people. So it wasn't just, it was holy, so it's always holy. Once the people start doing wickedness, he took his spirit from them. Go ahead.
And now, because you have done all these works, saith Yahweh, and I spake unto you, rising up early and speaking, but you heard not, and I called you, but you answered not.
That's why I tell people, you are not speaking the word all the time to get somebody to walk in righteousness. Some people have been appointed for destruction, and no matter what you say, they're going to go toward destruction. It don't matter what happened. It don't matter how vividly the picture is painted. They're going to go for destruction because they were appointed to it. And there's some good-hearted people that's just always on the wrong page. And then that loyalty and that tradition won't allow them to do anything different. Go ahead.
Verse 14. Therefore will I do unto this house, which is called by my name, wherein you trust, and unto the place which I gave to you and to your fathers, as I have done to Shiloh.
As I have done to Shiloh. So he already said, I'll do it again. I put my name in a place, and I'll take my name off of it. Go ahead.
And I'll cast you out of my sight, as I've cast out all your brethren, even the whole seed of Ephraim. Therefore pray not you for this people, neither lift up cry nor prayer for them, neither make intercession to me, for I will not hear you.
You can pray for them, but it'll be practice. Yahweh has already said, I'm not hearing you. Right?
Seeth you not what they do in the cities of Judea and in the streets of Jerusalem? The children gather wood, and the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings onto other gods, that they may provoke me to anger. Do they provoke me to anger? Saith Yahweh. Do they not provoke themselves to the confusion of their own faces? Therefore thus said the Adonai Elohim, Behold, mine anger and my fury shall be poured out upon this place, upon man, and upon beast, and upon the trees of the field, and upon the fruit of the ground, and it shall burn, and shall not be quenched. Thus said the Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, Put your burnt offerings unto your sacrifices, and eat flesh. For I spake not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt, concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. But this thing commanded I them, saying, Obey my voice, and I'll be your Elohim, and you shall be my people, and walk you in all the ways that I have commanded you, that it may be well unto you. But they hearkened not, nor inclined their ear, but walked in the counsels and in the imagination of their evil heart, and went backwards and not forward.
Right, but it's hard to convince Israel that their heart is evil. See, God knows my heart. He know what I meant to do. You know, he understands. Go ahead.
Jeremiah chapter 7 and verse 25. Since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt unto this day, I have even sent unto you all my servants, the prophets, daily rising up early and sending them. Yet they hearkened not unto me, nor inclined their ear, but hardened their neck. They did worse than their fathers.
Consider this. It says, since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt, unto this day I have sent unto you all my servants, the prophets, daily rising up early and sending them. Yet they hearken not unto me. See, the voice of those prophets was the words of Yahweh. So Yahweh said, you didn't hear me. But they didn't see Yahweh. They might have saw a man that they really didn't respect. Or they saw a man that they had some indignation with, so they couldn't receive Yahweh's word. Be careful. Yahweh will blind you. Go ahead.
Therefore you shall speak all these words unto them, but they will not hearken to you. You also shall call unto them, but they will not answer you.
Right. See, you don't get to decide whether or not you're going to follow what Yahweh has given unto you, even though he tells you right out, look, they're not going to listen to you. But I need you to tell them anyway. They're not going to follow you, but I need you to tell them anyway. Why? Righteous judgment. Tell them. Same thing they did with choosing a king. Look, they're not going to listen to you, but tell them. That way, there's no opportunity to escape judgment whatsoever, because it's not that somebody has told them. See, they need to hear it from Israel. See, that's why you don't get sometimes that Yahweh puts you in situations for you to speak. See, it's not that somebody told them. You have to tell them. Somebody could have told them. Somebody ain't good enough. You. Go ahead.
Verse 28. But you shall say unto them, This is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of Yahweh their Elohim.
Right. The voice of Yahweh their Elohim is in you. Because this word is in you. Go ahead.
Nor receiveth correction. Truth is perished, and is cut off from their mouth.
Right. They receive not correction. They will not be corrected. They're going to keep going. They know it's wrong, but they're going to keep marching in it. Go ahead.
Cut off your hair, O Jerusalem, and cast it away, and take up a lamentation on high places. For Yahweh hath rejected and forsaken the generation of his wrath. For the children of Judea have done evil in my sight, saith Yahweh. They have set their abominations in the house which is called by my name, to pollute it.
So once an abominable act has been committed in the house is polluted. Go ahead.
And they have built the high places of Tophet, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire, which I commanded them not, neither came it into my heart. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that it shall no more be called Tophet, nor the valley of the son of Hinnom, but the valley of slaughter. For they shall bury in Tophet till there be no place. And the carcasses of this people shall be meat for the fowls of the heaven, and for the beasts of the earth, and none shall fray them away. Then will I cause to cease from the cities of Judea, and from the streets of Jerusalem, the voice of mirth, and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom, and the voice of the bride, for the land shall be laid desolate.
All right. And let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let us go to Jeremiah chapter 26. Jeremiah chapter 26, and let's read verses 1 through 16. See, we understand that we know in part, but we also understand that there's certain things that that Yahweh expects of us. Yahweh know when we are just entering into this word. There's certain things that would be held against me now that wouldn't held against me when I first got in the word. Because Yahweh knows what he has given you. Remember, when it talked about those offerings, it said, Yahshua said, you see that woman? She gave the most out of everybody. Because everybody else gave of their abundance. So she gave all that she had. So Yahweh knows the level. When it says that we're supposed to make these appearances, it says every man must give as he is able. So when these places put these amounts, each person need to bring 500. Each person need to bring 1,000. That's unrighteous. He said, give as he is able. So Yahweh knows what that ability is. So those very things that were held against me, or that wasn't held against me when I first got in the word, let me do it now. You'll be like, man, what's going on? What's up? Right. Oh, Yahweh handed me my hat. And I heard my teacher say, Yahweh handed me my hat because there's some things that I let go on that I should have ended and taken care of. Jeremiah chapter 26, and let's read verses 1 through 16.
In the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim the son of Josiah, king of Yehudah, came this word from Yahweh, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, stand in the court of Yahweh's house, and speak unto all the cities of Judea, which come to worship in Yahweh's house, all the words that I command you to speak unto them, diminish not a word. If so be, they will hearken, and turn every man from his evil way, that I may repent me of the evil which I purpose to do unto them because of the evil of their doings.
If so be, they will hearken and turn every man from his evil way. Go ahead.
And you shall say unto them, Thus saith Yahweh, if you will not hearken to me to walk in my law, which I have set before you, to hearken to the words of my servants the prophets, whom I have sent unto you, both rising up early and sending them, but you have not hearkened.
Right. It's Yahweh's word, but he sent a man to speak those words. So you got to understand, Israel has respect to persons. They may not like the man. So they believe that they rejecting the man, but they're really rejecting Yahweh. Go ahead.
Then will I make this house like Shiloh, and will make this city a curse to all the nations of the earth. So the priests and the prophets and all the people heard Jeremiah speaking these words in the house of Yahweh. Now it came to pass, when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking all that Yahweh had commanded him to speak unto all the people, that the priests and the prophets and all the people took him, saying, You shall surely die.
Look who had the indignation. The priests, the prophets, and then the people took him. And once you get a couple people, you know, once we see a good couple of people doing something, well, this is the right thing to do. Because, you know, the ruling authority said this person is bad. Same thing they did with Yahshua. That was the ruling authority that decided, oh yeah, man, he's evil. Because as it is written, for envy they delivered him. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Why have you prophesied in the name of Yahweh, saying, This house shall be like Shiloh, and this city shall be desolate without an inhabitant. And all the people were gathered against Jeremiah in the house of Yahweh.
Right. They want to hear smooth things. They don't want to hear anything against the house. So anything that's against the house, they reject it automatically. Go ahead.
When the princes of Yehudah heard these things, then they came up from the king's house into the house of Yahweh, and sat down in the entry of the new gate of Yahweh's house. Then spake the priests and the prophets unto the princes and to all the people, saying, This man is worthy to die, for he has prophesied against this city, as you have heard with your ears. Then spake Jeremiah unto all the princes and to all the people, saying, Yahweh sent me to prophesy against this house and against this city all the words that you have heard.
Right. People may reject you. They may even threaten to kill you. But when Yahweh sends you to do something, do it. Go ahead.
Therefore now amend your ways and your doings, and obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, and Yahweh will repent him of the evil that he has pronounced against you.
These are very strong words against people who are set up and in power. Go ahead.
As for me, behold, I am in your hand. So do with me as seemeth good and meet unto you. But know you for certain that if you put me to death, you shall surely bring innocent blood upon yourselves, and upon this city, and upon the inhabitants thereof.
Right. See, this is what people have not considered. But know you for certain that if you put me to death, and Israel put people to death spiritually, with their mouths, condemning those people, speaking lies against those people, and those people are not there to defend the defamation of their character. You do those things, you shall bring innocent blood upon yourselves and upon the city. The city don't get to claim righteousness once evil is done in it. You have to understand what is thus written in this law. When blood is shed in the land, the only way to cleanse it is by the shedding of blood of the person who shed blood in the first place. Go ahead.
For of a truth Yahweh hath sent me unto you to speak all these words in your ears. Then said the princes and all the people unto the priests and to the prophets, This man is not worthy to die.
But who's going to speak up? See, it's hard to speak up in the midst of Israel when they have gathered against something. See? Shepha swore down he wasn't going to deny Yahshua. I ain't going to deny you. If everybody deny you, I will not deny you. I shall be ready to go with you to the death. Man, when them people he wasn't ready for nothing like that. And Yahshua was already forgiving him. Look, you going to deny me. But he was already saying, hey man, feed my sheep. Do you love me? Yeah, I love you. Do you love me? Yeah, I love you. Do you love me? That would tick some people off. Why you keep asking me this? Because the same amount of times I ask you, do you love me? That's how many times you're going to deny me. No, not me. No, not me. But when his life got on the line and then people got ready to start threatening him, people have a tendency to change the side because they don't see Yahweh's power right away. What is immediately visible is the power of man. So they choose man. But they shall regret choosing man. Promise you. Go ahead.
This man is not worthy to die, for he hath spoken to us in the name of Yahweh our Elohim.
Right. So that means at some point, somebody has to even stand up for righteousness, even if it means that they will be verbally crucified amongst the children of Israel. So we have to understand there is the General Assembly, and then there's the Church of the Firstborn. Yahweh is separating his servants just as he is separating the wheat from the tares, he is separating the General Assembly from the Church of the Firstborn. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.